Hello and welcome. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a delay. My internet decided to click right in and out right there. But welcome to another edition of some playoff best ball talk. We are only a few days away from the playoffs finally starting. It is crazy. I feel like I've been neck deep in these for the last month, and I absolutely love it. And as we get closer to the launch of all of these, what better a person to bring on than directly from Underdog Fantasy, kind of the best ball data guru, Hayden Winks himself. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm not sure about the data guru, but I have some data. I just wanted to mention the beat on the intro and stuff. I love all of like the hip hop intros, but every single time Overzet's making fun of us has ruined all those for me. But yeah, glad to be here. This is my favorite fantasy football game out there, and there's nobody better to do this than Champion himself.
So just to be clear, like if I was to try to reenact the overs at one, it's got to maybe have even like a little rap in the background. You get the big entrance. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Fantasy.
That's basically us right now.
Love it. Fantastic. No, that's hilarious. And yeah, because Corain, after winning the BBM 3, he's been touting the Week 17 correlation pod or video from Overzet back in the beginning of summer. Love to see those kind of living on. And one a bit becomes 2 million bits. That's
not bad. Good money if you can get it.
So yeah, we are going to have a fun show today. We are going to do a mitten draft with Hayden. We're going to start off before we actually jump in though, and kind of talk a bit more high level strategy. I know a lot of people in here have kind of chatted with us before, gotten those kind of conversations and kind of tidbits on, hey, how should we draft and what should I be thinking about? And honestly, personally, I want to get kind of Hayden's thoughts because Hayden, I think when we have regular best ball, he's spending a lot of that summer diving into the data, thinking through the game theory options there. There is far less data on the playoff best ball thing. I don't actually know if you've seen any data from the Underdog side, nope. But I know that you've at least put some thought into this. So I'm going to throw it over to you and just be like, hey, what is the 101 kind of on how you start approaching this from a strategic aspect, how people really can kind of optimize over the next couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game about stacking, most importantly. If you can't field a starting lineup in both the championship round and the Super Bowl, your team is dead. The way that we have to kind of advance this tournament or these tournaments structure-wise is you can get to the finals. There's more finals teams this year than there was in previous years, but all the payout for the most part is still at the very end. So this is a game about creating a starting lineup in the Super Bowl. That means one quarterback, at least one running back, sometimes two, and then 2 or 3 wide receiver / tight ends. If you don't have the right combinations for that, your team is basically drawing dead. So this is all about stacking. For me, it's team stacking. I want like one primary team in one conference and then either 1 or 2 primary teams in the second conference. Some of them like a 4-3-3 build always piques my interest. A 4-2-2-2 build piques my interest. And then obviously we have the bye week wrinkles in there. But for the most part, basically how I view the draft lobby is after I made my first pick or first 2 or 3 picks, I'm basically eliminating like half the player pool because those players just do not fit within that structure. So that's the difference in regular best ball. Even if I have a couple of players from one team, I'm still fielding other teams. Nobody's eliminated. In this format, there are teams that just do not make sense with other teams. So that's my primary focus is which teams stack best with the other teams.
Okay. I like that. And now we're going to focus on the mitten. Mitten 4 was just released.
Yep.
Same structure as Mitten 3. It is 2 out of 6 advance in the first, and I believe it's 2 out of 12, 2 out of 20, and the 316 or so in the finals. There's been some interesting discussion on Twitter around this of like, hey, because it's only 2 out of 6 and then only 2 out of 12, like, should you go with just the full game stack, grab 2 teams, go full on it, and just hope you get lucky that they put up enough points to advance?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's, hey, as you said, maybe it's pick 1, pick 2 from the other conference. Maybe it's focus on 2 teams, but go with a couple one-offs. What are your thoughts on optimizing specifically for the Mitten?
So the 2 out of 6 makes it where the bye week teams are somewhat viable. I actually really find we might need to try this. Getting a Eagles versus Chiefs stack and then finding 5 players that really can do well in round 1, because 2 out of 6 I think is pretty beatable, because like players like Saquon Barkley project obviously fairly well. Your Justin Jeffersons, your Ken Walkers, DK Metcalf. There are some one-off options. To me though, it's really about the 2 out of 20 and then the Super Bowl. 2 out of 20 is, you can't just have 5 players in that 2 out of 20 and expect to advance, in my opinion. So I'm trying to find teams where it's like, if there's 3, if I can have a stack where 3 of the 4 teams represented in the conference championship round, then I would start feeling pretty good about it. So I think that's kind of the thing I'm looking into, is making sure I can map out where if I have 2 teams from the NFC that they're not going to be playing each other in the 2 of 12 advance, I want them to be playing each other in the 2 of 20 advance if I can get there. But all of that secondary, you got to get at least 5 players in for the Super Bowl. And I think since the finals are a little bit bigger, I think in a perfect world, you'd have like about 7 of them. If you can manage 8 and stuff, awesome. I think I'm aiming for like 6 or 7 in a Super Bowl matchup. I think that's a good balance between being able to advance, and if you have 7 players from that Super Bowl, I think you still have pretty high odds of being able to win it.
Now, 6 or 7, unless you're going for a Kansas City Philly Super Bowl, because I think we agree that if you're going to try to get 6, even honestly 6, you're taking a 0 somewhere. Yeah. Your chance of advancing that first is very tough. And then it's how much actual value are you getting from that 6th player in the Super Bowl, because someone else could do it with 5 and get the same players.
Yes.
What I do think is really interesting what you're talking about is, so those 2 1 seeds, it's kind of the one that I'm most intrigued about with these Mittens, is how can I do that and take the right? Because what you mentioned, the 220 is really interesting. And I've kind of been leaning towards, if you're going to do that and take the 5, you can't just load up the first 5 picks with them and then the bottom 5 go with all the Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, the guys who can advance in that wild card, but are probably going to be a one-off. Maybe the Giants pull up the upset, 3-point dogs, have a chance. I think that you could. So first off, the Eagles are really interesting because outside of those pick 30, I think Goddard goes around 30. There's not really an Eagle you want after that. It's Kenneth Gainwell and Quez Watkins that are at the very end of drafts. Kansas City, on the other hand, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, you can McCall Hardman. You can either go crazy with like a Justin Watson. Like those are all guys who we've seen can very easily put up 40 yards and a touchdown for Kansas City. And those are the ones where, no, they're not going to be helpful for you in that first, second round. But in a conference championship and in a Super Bowl, they don't cost a lot in your draft, but they could literally provide you substantially more value just getting that 5th guy versus the other teams that squeaked in with just 4.
Yep. I totally agree with all of that stuff. It's really to me, it's all about understanding the map to the playoffs. And I think you can do all these things that we're saying in one exact draft. It just takes a little bit of mapping out which teams are going to be playing each other. But in a perfect world, you got to try to map out. If you have, I think for the most part, I'm stacking 3 teams together, sometimes a 4th team. That's kind of my draft. Of the 10 picks, I want them from 3 or 4 teams for the most part. I have seen some people do complete just 2 teams. I do think that you're kind of you're like, if you have 10 people in your Super Bowl lineup, how much is that really helping you versus having just the 6 or 7? So I think at that point, I just want, fine, I'll tack in a like Jaguar stack. Let's say they beat the Chargers and all of a sudden you have ETN and Christian Kirk possibly giving you points for the second round, where I think I'm capping my teams. I want like 4 players from one team kind of for the most part, and then a couple 3-team stacks like that. Because I think that's kind of the best balance, and just hoping that they can all get there for that championship round and obviously for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think the meta has changed a bit from like when I have my strategy from last year, the year before. And we've looked at some data around this, and there's some people who like literally are tracking all their drafts because that's the closest we can get to like data. And across those kind of sample sizes, you still see almost everyone, not almost, 70+% are still taking like two quarterbacks. And so what that tells me, and it might even be higher than like 80, it depends on which quarterback and such, but it tells me that, hey, like you still have a general very softness to these rooms where people are playing for safety over upside and not willing to kind of, you have Burrow, lean with just Burrow. Okay.
Yep.
But you still then have 20 to 30% of people who are sharp, who have, learned, are drafting the sharp teams. Now, that may not have even been the case a year or two ago with a strategic aspect. So you mentioned the one with regards to drafting two full teams. Let's use Buffalo and San Francisco as an example, because Buffalo, you can go Josh Allen, you can go Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, leave out Purdy, then go a bunch of Bill. Like that's possible to go with full stack for those two. I am not doing that this year. Like last year, I literally was telling Eagles earlier in the year, like, yo, you need to be going Cincy, what was it? Super Bowl, Cincy and LAR. Like that's one that's attainable. He literally won it with that. And I was a strong proponent of go with the heavy stack. This year, you do that in the mitten, either one of two things happens. One is that clean stack is enough to get people to the Super Bowl. And there's so many people doing it that now you're just going to be guaranteed a chop in the Super Bowl, in the Super Bowl one. Or that lineup isn't good enough because one of the times, though, one of those two teams had a bad week. Gabe Davis went off for 3 touchdowns, and you need the one off. I'm more saying give me 7 or 8 from those two teams, and let me see if I can get unique with the 1 or 2 off players who maybe you need that player to advance. So now if I do get that team to the Super Bowl, I'm still in amazing shape, but I'm now maybe getting some uniqueness because the other ones who went only the full game stack, which there's a bunch of those people that have done that, didn't advance.
Yes.
It's interesting. And that's why I love this game is we got to continue to adapt. The article that I wrote 5 weeks ago, probably needs another update right now because of what we've seen this season.
Yeah, and the other thing is we're just labeling like 7 players in a Super Bowl lineup, but also like which players are truly matters, and you have to kind of like orchestrate which teams are going to be playing each other because you can have 2 teams where the running backs, neither team starts a running back that gets a lot of fantasy points, you can get away with it. Or if you have the 49ers and you're going to come in there with the Bills and like Devin Singletary is going to project for 10 and then Christian McCaffrey's got 22, how are you going to be making up these points? All of a sudden you have to kind of map out which teams are even going to get there. But I'm with you. I want like 6 or 7 players in a hypothetical Super Bowl, and I want them to be the good players, not the bad players. I want them to be the good players projections wise, and then give me a Ken Walker, DK Metcalf if there's an upset there. Give me Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette if the Bucks get it. You're going to use those.
They're
points.
Only 3-point dogs.
Exactly. So if you can just get 2 of those players at the end rather than like Justin Watson, like I get it to some degree, but if you already have 4 Chiefs, like if Justin Watson's in your lineup, then you probably didn't want Juju Smith-Schuster earlier. You actually wanted somebody from the other team that's in the Super Bowl in the first place. So 4-3-3 is kind of my favorite build. If we can do that, then I think that's a win.
I love that. Yeah, if I went Chiefs early, especially if I went Mahomes, gosh, I'm grabbing Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and Richie James Jr. because that is a stack that, Daniel Jones costs nothing, so I'm not investing any capital at a 1-week quarterback. Barkley and Richie James both have kind of upside in that initial game, and they're only 3-point dogs playing in a dome against Minnesota. Opportunity to kind of then they'd go to the Eagles, which half of the Giants almost beat an Eagles, or at least stay competitive. Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask you one question? One question? You're talking about the 2 quarterback situation. Is it 1 quarterback that's Josh Allen? I think everybody should mostly agree with that. I think Joe Burrow goes high enough now, and if they're beating the Buffalo Bills in the next round and the Chiefs, he's putting up fat numbers. I agree with you. Go 1 quarterback there. Brock Purdy, I think there's a debate there. I'm not sure if he projects well enough in each one of these games to kind of overcome like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes. These players are going to be putting up huge numbers. Jalen Hurts. I'm not completely sold with Brock Purdy, and then I think Dak Prescott's kind of interesting. What's your thoughts on like the one quarterbacks? Who are you doing it with?
So football, you took a very football approach to that on can this quarterback score enough each round to make it work, which I think is a great starting point from it. And in the past, I'd be like, hey, Burrow is my okay, pick one of them, Dak, Burrow, whatever. But like they win every game. If you then add into a player's projection that they have won the game, a QB, they've likely to scored a solid score, so likely to get you through. That's my football sense. However, we talked about the meta. I think the meta has changed where there's so many sharp teams now that are only drafting one quarterback and drafting really good teams with a Bengals and another team from the other side. So what I've actually started doing is on those which historically I would only draft one, I will throw in a Daniel Jones. I will throw in a Trevor Lawrence because now I'm adding that additional game theory aspect of, hey, this great team, maybe Burrow only put up what do you have last week? 9?
Yeah.
7? 11? Something ridiculous low.
You get unique. Yeah.
Exactly. And so now I've realized that when traditionally I want to go one QB because the sharp teams should be doing that because you don't really want to waste that spot. So many are doing it. Maybe if I grab that second quarterback, I can knock out a whole bunch of those teams on a bad one QB week and go from there. Josh Allen is literally the only QB that I'm saying I'm only drafting one.
Okay. I think that's fair enough. I think for most of my Burrow teams, I'm going to keep it at one, but I do hear the argument depending on what happens at the end. If somebody like Tom Brady is available on the other side of the conference, I could definitely make a case for a second quarterback. But yeah, I think people making fun of the two quarterback teams, I don't think that's the appropriate way to do this right now.
Right. Hey, there's levels to this. I'd say that's probably a level 2. Like level 1 is I definitely need a second quarterback because I got to play it safe. Level 2 is my quarterback, he's going to do well. I only need one. Maybe level 3 is, hey, maybe there's that outlier game and we can actually gain some leverage against it with that second one-off QB.
Yep.
Okay. I see a question in chat too. I'm going to enter and get us going into a mitten. I'll let you touch on Corbin's here because you kind of talked a little about it earlier with regard to the 4 guys from each team, leaves those 2 random slots. Let's say you do go with that double stack of, hey, 8 from 2 teams. What are you really looking for? Kind of give a little more clarity in that for those last 2 slots.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends if this is going to be a bye week team or not, and which one. Like at that point, if you got 4 players from a bye week team, you're going to need I think the superstars from the teams that we think are going to get eliminated, like Tyreek Hill if this is on the Eagles side, or if this is the Chiefs side with a 4-person build. Go to the NFC best teams, players like Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, those types where they're probably not going to make it all the way through, but you can get some big scores in week 1. So. I think 4-4, 2-2, or 4-4, 1-1 is totally viable. It just kind of depends on which teams you're drafting from and how good those players are. I do think that we can't call Justin Watson as one player as if he's like projecting at the same to be like somebody that's actually going to be in your lineup. So I think that's like kind of the dangerous thing. It's just you can't just throw on freaking who was the rookie. The Chiefs drafted some rookie and didn't even get any snaps. You can't draft Noah Gray and expect him to be in your starting lineup and say that you're doing this for the stacks. I think there's a little bit of levels to it.
Like when we think of those crazy one-off pieces for the Chiefs, for the Eagles, because like it's hard to get a 5, 6 of those players in, and a lot of the teams that do advance are only going to make it with 3, 4.
Yeah.
What we're looking for is just someone to hopefully put up some points in that Super Bowl. And so you can see some of the options here. Obviously, McCole Hardman and Sky Moore, there's such health concerns and such. But Marcos Valdes-Scantling, I think he had 6 targets last week. 6, 7
he's
targets.
Gonna play. He's going to play.
What was that? Yeah.
Right. He's going to be on the field. I think that's where I'm drawing. I can be sold on McCole Hardman. The rest of them, I guess. But a good Justin Watson game is him getting 6 points. And is 6 points going to make your wide receiver starting lineup? Perhaps. But if it's against a really good team in the NFC, I'm not sure.
Correct. It's optimizing for only that Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl where no one has more than 4 or 5 spots. Okay. We've got Josh Allen. We've got Mahomes. We got the AFC QBs going off the board to start off. Mine, normal would be McCaffrey here. Do you have any preference?
Same. I like McCaffrey. He's by far.
Unless you want to go with the Hurts and we go with the 1 seed thing here.
We can try it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm down to build a Chiefs Eagles stack here if we can, just to kind of experiment it and see if Jalen Hurts could with the Chiefs secondary. I think that's probably maybe the better way to do it. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl will be projecting fairly similarly, but there's more depth and kind of random scoring. Like you can get a McCole Hardman handoff touchdown, and all of a sudden Mahomes not even getting that.
And again, it comes down to if those two are in, you're going to have a bunch of teams that are like Mahomes, Kelsey, Goddard. And like that's it. And so if you also have those, and then you're also able to just get literally 1 point, just 2 points, like, no, it doesn't seem like a lot, but because there's such a small player pool, it can still give you lots of leaps. My favorite that I've done out of this is going with Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelsey or Mahomes and AJ Brown, because you're getting that uniqueness angle and you're, if you already accept you're playing just for that one Super Bowl matchup, then it's okay. You don't need to just go with your own stack there.
Yep. And you want to absorb if Travis Kelsey can score all the receiving touchdowns, and then the Mahomes, Travis Kelsey with the other Chiefs wide receivers aren't going to look as good as if you're just absorbing all those touchdowns.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so let's at least just start with the queue. So we know we grabbed Hurts. We're just going to start throwing as many of these in here to begin with.
And by the way, like Justin's doing right here, you can search for the team and then they'll all pop up. Every single time I'm drafting after I've drafted a player, I go into the queue, type the team in, add them, and then reorder the queue based off of ADP just with those teams.
Nice. Yeah. So helpful. So clutch. Definitely a little tip from drafted. Okay. Kelsey goes. So we're not going to get that fun one, but no concerns at all. We still get AJ Brown.
Yep. And this is like where you can go Jerick McKinnon. Like this would be like the spot for me where, hey, what if it gets crazy and McKinnon scores 2 rushing touchdowns? Mahomes only has 1, and all of a sudden you've hit the total nuts. And in this game, Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders might have very little correlation, positive correlation, but they might even have negative correlation in a single game. That I think I would want to be going for McKinnon if we are going to be going for this kind of rare team that's going to be able to make it all the way through.
So I completely agree. Where when this build, if I have the QB from the opposite team, go with the opposing running back because there's leverage off of the other people who have the other QB in this matchup come Super Bowl. There is the Pacheco, and like Pacheco versus McKinnon, that ADP gap is too large for what it should be. And so that's maybe the only counter to this is like, it's a, hey, oh, well, McKinnon goes there, is like a, hey, we know we can likely get Pacheco a bit later.
What's your thoughts on like Eckler as like the secondary stack? You grab a couple of Chargers at the very end. And if the
Eckler or Mixon?
Either one works for me, but we got the Eagles side, so I would be finding AFC high-scoring players. I'm fine with either of them.
I'm going to go Mixon just because I know so many people have built out Eagles-Charger stacks because it just fits easily.
Right.
And so if we had a bit more time, what I would have done is click through here and seen who got Burrow. Okay, so Burrow went here and with a Diggs.
This is very smart because you if you get in a room where you're both players are stacking the same game, all of a sudden you guys are fighting for players from the same and they're all flying off the board. That's the worst.
So when I see that Burrow went Diggs, not Burrow Chase, that's more inclination for me to kind of go with the Bengals. Maybe there was an outside shot. Higgins could have actually fallen to us if nobody cared about that and such. And as you mentioned here, another thing is it's harder, I think, to get like an elite scoring running back for the first week in the second half of the draft. So us going away from our stack to grab a potentially elite running back that also has leverage against the Jamar Chase, the T. Higgins, and the Joe Burrow who are in this group as well. I think it's a sharp play.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we're coming back around. We got picks in 3. Sanders, Goddard on the Eagles side. We actually haven't even taken a Chief yet. So even though we went into this draft thinking, okay, we could grab the Chief thing, if it doesn't work out, that's also okay because we're still building something pretty valuable and pretty unique. But good to keep in mind.
And the Bengals, if they are going to play the Chiefs, it would not happen until that conference championship round when it's 2 of 20 advancement. So I'm not even opposed to if our 3 teams are Eagles, Chiefs, and Bengals. I would not be opposed to that because that would be the 3 teams in the AFC conference, and those are like 3 likely teams to be in the conference round as well.
Yeah. Okay. Feels like Miles Sanders here.
Yeah.
No concerns.
Yeah.
I mean, we are
Only
getting
or Juju would be like the other option if we wanted to go out of our way to go the Chiefs route, but we might not even have to go the Chiefs route this draft.
And it's interesting with the Chiefs. So like McKinnon, Pacheco, ADP way wide, but like the gap on a per game basis isn't actually that large. Mm-hmm. Juju and Tony, Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I'm not sure who it is, but like I think Juju has the upside individual game against those players, but their floors are all the same. Like we just haven't seen the consistency with Juju. That what before he got hurt, he had like 3 or 4 games in a row with like he was getting those 8+ targets, converting on it, but hasn't been the same. Okay, Juju just went.
Get sniped.
There's Tyler Boyd here.
I think I would go Goddard and be done with Eagles.
Okay.
And then we're going to have to really go out of our way possibly to make sure we advance out of this round. Is there quarterbacks that you'd want to be looking at as well?
I'm going to take a gamble here and go Boyd.
Okay.
Just because we have this gives us a second Bengal. No one else really has an Eagle besides Devonta Smith. And people in general are kind of scared to take the Eagles if they're not stacking them.
Right.
We knew that the Burrow and the Higgins team were in this group. So I could have seen Boyd maybe being taken by like right here or something.
Right. So maybe we'll get both. Yep.
Hoping Goddard now comes back to us.
Yes. All right. I'm down. Quarterback position. What we're going to be looking at? What I'm guessing an AFC quarterback can we get one. This to me would be like you could possibly think about the Jaguars in this situation.
Lawrence Kirk as a final 2 kind of feels like a strong little mini stack for wildcard weekend with the opportunity to advance.
Right. What do you think about Herbert and Mike? Perhaps
my challenge there is, I mean, like if they fell, but the challenge is that I'm using a substantial amount of draft capital if I'm taking him in the 6th tier, which is for someone that literally all I care about is the wild card round. Like Jalen Hurts, if they're advancing, he's outscoring Herbert the rest of the time.
Yep.
And what is Herbert's wild card projection compared to Trevor Lawrence? A point higher?
Yeah, maybe a couple points higher. I think this is Goddard for us pretty easily.
Yep.
And then to me, so we have 4 players from the NFC. To me, this would just be, all right, let's fire some bullets. It's Eagles versus Bengals, hopefully. If it's not the Bengals and if it goes crazy and it ends up being the Jaguars go on a run here, Eagles, Jaguars, that's kind of how I would be attacking this.
I like that. Let's throw in Etienne, Kirk, Lawrence, Zay Ingram. There's so many, Jags that you can actually go with.
What do you think the drafted rate is, real quick, between Christian Kirk and like Zay Jones? Because the ADP is like somewhat tight, but I mean the projections aren't going to be that different.
Ooh, that's from like a pure game theory. If I had more confidence, like in the Jaguars making it to the Super Bowl, where that actually mattered, I think it come in. All right, let's think here. It wouldn't be bad to grab another running back in my mind.
Yes.
ETN feels pretty good there.
I agree.
From a wide receivers, we only have Boyd, so we could grab like a upside Mike Williams.
I think I'd wait for Tyreek. I think I would go Travis Etienne and then like Tyreek.
Even with Skyler?
I still think he projects fairly well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sad. Yeah. No Tua, no Lamar.
Another point here is if you just look at projections and half PPR, the running backs versus the wide receivers, I think it depends on how many you draft, but to me, the second running back is going to project better than the third wide receiver for that flex spot. So I'm kind of not always making sure I have a good second or third running back, but when in doubt, I'm leaning the running back position. Just look at any scoring from this entire year. The depth at wide receiver kind of fell off, and there's a pretty good second tier running backs.
Yeah, I agree there. And I think in these drafts, you've got to like figure out what that cutoff is. And maybe it's like, you have the Dobbins and Walker that in that wildcard game could still put up, but like are both going to be touchdown or worse underdogs. Then you have like the Fournette or Rashad White, 3-point dogs, but like we know they're catching passes and could very easily have a big game.
I like Fournette. It seems like they're going to go with Fournette over Rashad. I think the gap's kind of widening again.
Do you feel that same way about Singletary and Cook, or what do you feel about that? Because
I feel less confident about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I also think that there's a chance that McKinnon gets a lot of run instead of Pacheco, just because of veteran savvy, but that kind of go either way too.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs, the nice thing for them is that first game is likely going to be against like the Chargers or the Jaguars. And that's a game that they should be probably about a touchdown favorite at home. Yeah. And could see, hey, taking a little easy on McKinnon and giving Pacheco that kind of run when they're ahead, which is strong for him because, hey, second round, like it's a big round.
Yep.
And then who knows after that. What's our health concern with Mike Williams?
He was a DNP. They're calling it back spasms, but he's had lots of injuries in the past. Is there he's Tyreek gone? Mark Andrews, I think, would be okay. Not my favorite. DK Metcalf would be good.
Should we just grab the
Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, because if we don't
this
get
guy's got Josh. Let's grab Christian Kirk. This guy's got Josh Allen. Okay. So not expecting him to grab a second QB, and this guy's already got 2.
All right, cool.
Okay, quick refresher on our team. We've got the Jalen. We need another quarterback. We've got Mixon, Sanders, and ETN. We're counting on Mixon and ETN counting for us in the wild card.
Yep.
We then have Tyler Boyd, Christian Kirk. If we wanted to get really kind of crazy, we can go Lawrence and then grab one of those Chiefs that we talked about. But then we're literally counting on Mixon, ETN, Boyd, and Kirk to be all of our points.
I don't think that's good enough.
I agree. So I think we need to kind of get another wide receiver. And maybe it is like a double stack with Lawrence, because if we're counting on Lawrence having a big game, Zay or Ingram may also.
I'm fine with that. Do we think Metcalf or Waddle projects well enough? If either of those teams pull off upsets, obviously we're not expecting that. We're not boxing ourselves in with any of the other stacks. Those players could be playing in separate games for a little bit. Yeah. What do you think like Metcalf projects for versus like Ingram? How much do you think that like the 6-point difference matters to this team?
Here's how I think about the difference of, okay, so you have the Ingram projection, and that's the Waddle projection, and that's on its own. The Ingram projection, so we'll take Lawrence here, no worries.
Yep.
The Ingram projection, I think you've got to bake in that, hey, Trevor Lawrence scored 25.
Okay.
And the Jaguars, I mean, I guess really it's just that Trevor Lawrence put up 25 points. Mm-hmm. Once you know that, because why we're saying that is because if Trevor Lawrence, we know, puts up 15 points, right, this team's probably not going to advance. Josh Allen puts up 30. Some other QB puts up 30. Like, we lost anyways.
Right.
Now, Trevor Lawrence puts up 25 plus. We're in contention. How does that change, say, Jones or Ingram's projection?
Right.
And if Trevor Lawrence puts up 25, the team probably won. So now we're also getting them, because again, this is the mitten. We only need to finish top 2 out of 6.
Yes,
next round's 2 out of 12. DK, what's the chances that he's any relevant in the second round? What? I think they're 20% to win the first round at like 10.5-point dogs. Like,
yeah.
Now, Ingram or Zay, preference, thought?
Man, probably Zay.
Because we have Kirk, does that change your thought process at all? Mm-hmm. Do you think like maybe Kirk and Zay are a bit more inversely correlated?
To me, like Zay Jones like has a higher chance of like ripping off a really big play down the field where we can kind of speed that thing up. And Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne, I think, will handle a lot of the underneath stuff. I think I'd rather just take this chance that, hey, Zay Jones just catches them sleeping deep and we get a big play.
That's completely fair. We are a little, I don't know, have some Jacksonville colored glasses on just from what Evan Ingram's 3 out of the last 4 weeks, maybe not kind of week 18 and such. Just had that streak where he went off 15 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
How many TDs? 2, 3 TDs?
Yeah, at least. They have been using him slightly differently though. So I obviously it's not that sticky what he was doing, but I do think that there is a difference between how they're using him earlier in the season and versus right now.
That's fair. And I think last game he only went 4 for 39.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 of those on the last drive. Yeah. Okay. So we will throw Zay Jones here. We've got Hurts, Lawrence, counting on Lawrence in the wild card round to be Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. This is just a Jacksonville onslaught. Tyler Boyd as the one-off for us. It's going to be tough.
Too.
Yeah,
I think the team. I mean, I think that this team, because if Mixon is going off in a hypothetical Super Bowl, you might not need the Jamar Chase, T Higgins if he's hogging the touchdowns. And then obviously if the Jaguars go on a little bit of a run here, that'd be massively important.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be most difficult in this one to 2 out of 6. It's easier than 1 out of 6, but we really need Jaguars to put up probably 30 plus.
Yes.
ETN maybe getting a receiving touchdown.
Yep.
But
like we said, beginning part of the show, this is about the payouts are about the end of the draft. So you have to take on risks in order to hit the actual upside later on. So I think that team has a chance. Is it 5 to 10% chance of being one of the 2 of 6 teams? Probably somewhere in the 10%, somewhere around there. But if we do get it to the Super Bowl, I would like our chances versus the field. So
right. Yep. And exactly. And it also, if we advance out of the first round, we are then actually probably a favorite, maybe the favorite in most drafts in the second round, because the Jaguars clearly won that game.
Yep.
And now we're getting a ton of Eagles, which not many other people have. Yep. So yes, we go from 33% down to maybe 10% in the wild card round. But now that 2 out of 12, instead of being 1 out of 6, I'm trying to do math real quick, 18% chance of advancing.
25, 33.
At least. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I love about
the Bengals and the Jaguars. If they do win, they're not going to be playing against each other in some crazy outcome. If you can get the conference championship where it's those two, all of a sudden that 2 out of 20, we're looking extremely live in those scenarios. And I do think those scenarios happen. I think it's too easy to say, oh, the top 4 teams, their Super Bowl odds are so high, we have to just smash those. Crazy stuff happens all the time across sports. The Bengals, nobody was really expecting them to be in the Super Bowl. And to me, really, it's a win if your kind of crazy team just makes the champion or the conference championship, because that 2 out of 20 is significantly harder to pull off. So I think the Jaguars, I'm not projecting them to, I even think the Chargers are going to win this game, but they're live to make the conference championship round, even if we don't think they're a Super Bowl team.
Chiefs have let a lot of subpar or at least non-elite teams hang in there. Chiefs are a fantastic team, but there is no guarantee that they are just going to wipe the floor with someone like the Chargers or the Jags. Okay, that was fun. Let's head on over. Okay, we've got some TOT packs to open. We got a giveaway to do in chat. We are going to, let's see, what should it be? We're going to go Underdog ! Put Underdog ! in the chat, and you will be entered on the giveaway. I'll put it there as well. Underdog ! And so, Hayden, first off, thank you as a representative for Underdog for being our presenting sponsor for free-to-play TOC playoff basketball this year. People have been having an absolute blast learning about Underdog. Obviously, everyone who's been in chat right now is familiar with Underdog and has been already playing. But if you have not sign up with promo code OTM. You'll get 100% deposit bonus up to $100 for new depositors and 2 free best ball packs. And for existing customers, if you've already been playing on Underdog like I have for what feels like ages, just enter one of those mittens, enter a gauntlet, fill out the form, and you can get your 2 packs that way. Let's let Hayden choose. Which pack would you like us to open? 1, 5, 6, 10 across the board. Let us know.
Let's go 3.
3. Front, center. Absolutely love it. Let's hope we get a good one.
And this is going to the chat?
This is going to go to someone in chat. What we'll do is we'll rip it open. We'll create what we think is the best lineup, and then let me mute this so you guys can hear a little better, and then we will gift it to someone in chat. So first 2 are always going to be quarterbacks. Oof, that Baltimore one looked a lot better until we found out that Lamar's probably not going to be playing. Next 2, we got 2 running backs. All right, Chargers, great one. Miami's not as great. We still got one straggling in Green Bay because we launched this last week. We had to make some smart bets, and Green Bay is the only one we got wrong.
I've burnt some teams last week too with Christian Watson and Aaron Jones stacks. So.
Right. I mean, I've been drafting best ball for the past month, and I actually got pretty fortunate because I was pretty high on Seattle and the Dolphins. I also had a little Derrick Henry back in there and a lot of Lamar.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else we got. We need to get some stacks. We got a couple stacks here. I like that QB tight end from Cincy. We got a lot of Chargers here. All right, flipping through. Ooh, 4 Chargers. 4 Chargers. Kansas City, a little running back defense. A lot of AFC. We're kind of lacking on the NFC. Let's this is going to be a tough one. This one's going to be a tough one for the NFC, but we'll see what we can put together. All right, so Hayden, a lot like Underdog, stacking is the key here. This is so it's cumulative points. There's no starting fresh from each round. So points in the wild card are just as valuable as points in the Super Bowl. First thing that jumps out is these 4 Chargers. Almost got to kind of make that bet that the Chargers are going to make it.
Agree.
If we did this a week ago, we probably would have been going with those Packers, but we are very limited on the NFC side. But what are you thinking?
I mean, got to go Burrow with the quarterback and tight end stack right there, right?
I like that. So points wise, it's the entire position group, and then it's best ball style. So each week we're going to count 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 defense, and 1 super flex. So that can be anything. And our card will have 12 of those. So as they're eliminated, you get 0 points.
I like the Chiefs running back.
Like that a lot. And because that's going to give us both Pacheco and McKinnon, and maybe even a little Rojo. I don't know. He got a touchdown last week. You never know.
When is CH coming back ever?
I don't know. Where's Melvin Gordon?
Yeah, seriously. Wow.
All right. We got to get some
defense at that point.
We have 1 D. Yeah, because we'll go with the stack there. And now we kind of just got to force in Minnesota. Maybe Minnesota QB in case they make it to the Super Bowl. That would give us a 3rd QB. We have no wide receiver cards yet. Wow, we got very unlucky with the wide. You know what? I'm calling it, Winks. I'm calling it. We're gonna do a reroll. We just don't have any NFC.
Yeah, we really don't. Or good wide receivers.
I mean, we literally have 1, and it's yeah. Okay, we're gonna do a reroll. Let's use that reroll. This is for you, chat. If we're gonna gift you something, we want to make sure you get a good one. We'll go a little more quickly through this now. All right, let's open that. Still number 3.
Run it back.
Let's go. AFC was not looking bad. 4 Chargers is great. 2 Chiefs, but there was nothing in the NFC department. All right, we'll do a quick reveal all. This looks pretty good. I like it. I see a couple Cowboys, a couple Giants. Okay.
Yeah, I like the Cowboys defense with running backs.
You almost get a little correlation there.
Man, we get a Bengals wide receiver. I'll take that.
Bengals wide receiver. Even go the Bengals stack if you wanted
Yep,
here.
I think so. And
We
then
need some QBs.
Eagles tight end. Do we want to?
Okay.
Right.
We have 2 tight ends already.
Would we rather? Would we rather punt off the Bengals tight end and go just with? I know it's ruining some correlation, but projection matters. I think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense and gives us a little more of the NFC if it is, that Chiefs and Eagles. And yeah, getting Kelsey, getting Goddard. Last year when you had both Goddard and Ertz for the first half of the year, that was nice.
Wow, I didn't even see. There's Kittle, 49ers tight end mixing too. Okay. I think so.
It's.
Do you not do Goddard because, or I think you got to do Kittle because Kelsey
you're getting
and
the
Goddard,
wild card game.
Yeah, right.
I think that probably makes sense. Tight end is one of the lower scoring because when you're comparing, one tight end to all the wide receivers or multiple running backs. Maybe go with Herbert? Both these QBs.
Yeah. Do we have any other quarterbacks? So it's obviously we're not taking the Dolphins, right? So I think both of the teams could win this week, no problem.
Yeah, you could very easily get 2 games out of both, and maybe even 3 games or plus out of one. So I like that. We got 2 of every position now, so we really have some flexibility.
I would take Dalvin. Yeah, Vikings running backs
because you're getting Madison as well in case. Like that's strong, and that leaves us with 1 more.
Okay.
What do you feel about Slayton, Richie James? Or go for the 1 week. I don't know if it was 2.
Yeah, it's really tough. Could you start tight ends in the flex?
You can.
It's just I know it's unlikely, but yeah, I can go. I think I can.
You know what? It's a better team. It's a better team than the Giants. They're more likely they could go all the way to the Super Bowl. I like it.
Plus, yeah, Eagles, 49ers, one of those teams has got to be making it pretty far.
And if they don't, it's probably Dallas or Tampa.
Dallas, right. Yeah. So you have Kelsey plus Kelsey or Jamar Chase plus whoever's going to be represented in the NFC. I think that's a pretty solid squad.
Not bad. Cincy wide receiver is so strong because you're getting Chase, you're getting Higgins, you're getting Boyd. What was it? Trent Merwin?
Yeah. He's doing things.
That was a crazy one. Okay. This was fun. Now, let's see. Chat, it is time to give it to you all. I know, Mark, I see you saying Kittle. I see you asking for the rule earlier. Just catching up on all the chat now. That's a strong tight end card. Strong tight end. Let's give one last shot. Underdog, ! Last chance to join the wheel. We'll be spinning in a minute. Hayden, thank you for joining us. This was fun. Talk to me about the last week. What was, obviously it was such a crazy week. Obviously it's so fantastic to see, signs of health after what happened on Monday Night Football. But for you guys, kind of obviously difficult decisions and just what was that week like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing was we were all concerned about Damar Hamlin. Luckily, we've got nothing but positive. I think he's completely out of the hospital at this point. So, I mean, maybe there's even a chance he returns to the NFL at this point. So I know that's one of his goals. So we'll see what happens there. That was very tough. I mean, for us, it was just read the terms, read the rules, and that's what we've posted, and that's what we're sticking with. So, it was obviously the game that we were thinking about since, week 17 correlation was starting to talk about. But things happen in the NFL and sports in general. So, at the end of the day, it just comes down to we got to stick with what our terms say.
Yeah, of course. And it's been an amazing season of best ball with Underdog, and couldn't be more excited for playoff best ball. I know people have been loving it. Always chatter in the Discord channel about strategy and aspects like that. Okay. Best of luck to everyone. Let's spin that wheel. Good luck, GL. Who's it going to be? Slowing down. Brandon. Brandon Balf. Congratulations. Big congrats. Send us a DM, open a ticket in the Discord, and we will get you over your winning TOC Best Ball Pack. To everyone else, this has been fantastic. Thank you all for joining us in chat. had a blast. It is Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. We're having a big party around the playoffs, drafting, opening packs, talking playoff rumble, all of the fun stuff. Only a couple more days until the games kick off. It's going to be a fun one. And Hayden, once again, thank you very much for joining us. Always a blast. I enjoy learning from you, hanging out with you.
Same here.
Helps refine my game.
Yep, we'll have to keep running it back this entire offseason. We got Best Ball Mania 4 right around the corner eventually.
Could there be like a second chance playoff best ball or something coming?
I've heard.
Maybe.
I
don't know. I'm just trying to keep the content going. I'm trying to keep the people happy. I know I'd have fun with that.
I like your odds.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone.